What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Battle Central Europe Season 3 Grand Finals. It is 2-0 in favor of Hellraisers in this best-of-5 Virtus.Pro Polar. They just had the most demoralizing loss you could possibly imagine. Up 12k, suddenly they will start to lose, and then they lost. So, not exactly what was according to plan for them, but hopefully for their sake, they can bring it back because there is 21k USD on the line right now. I'm Mike Loris. I'm going to be joined by Grandis for this game number 2. What do you think Virtus.Pro Polar have to change, if anything? Because it seems like they were more or less on the right track.
It definitely did. I think they should go for lineups that are a little bit less volatile, although that's kind of what they're known for and what they like running. Maybe fall back on Illidan's super late game farmers, like an Anti-Mage or an August Siren, something along that caliber that always gives you some sort of backup plan, because when you go for a Night Stalker, there really is no second chance. If you mess up anywhere, it's pretty much all down the drain, and we kind of saw what can happen in game number 1, especially when you have that large of an advantage. If you lose one fight, the swing in Golden experience is quite ridiculous, and they just lost like 3 in a row, and that really felt like that was game. Hellraisers is going to open up things in the second game, or third game, I suppose, as far as the entire series is concerned. With Scarrath Mage, the Vengeful Spirit, and Brewmaster banned out, this is also a decent way for Virtus.Pro Polar to open things up, not getting Hellraisers what they're very comfortable with. Even after the nerfs, they've already shown that those heroes are still really good.
Yeah, and oh man, Virtus.Pro Polar. Well,
that's ballsy.
Okay, I actually like this a little bit more. Death Prophet, unlike the Puck and the Jakiro, well, first of all, she could push things like Jakiro, but second of all, her late game isn't absolute crap like Jakiro or Puck. So Death Prophet, if it does go to a late game scenario, which is of course not the plan for Virtus.Pro Polar, they will have something to fight back. I still don't think it's worth picking the Night Stalker first. Even though it worked out decently for them last game, I'm pretty sure Hellraisers, you know, they are kind of now more aware about what to do, but this is, yeah, as you said, a ballsy pickup for Virtus.Pro Polar.
Yeah, I mean, they're sticking to their cards, and I can definitely respect that, but their tournament life is on the line. They're putting a lot of faith in Night Stalker and on Illidan, on this Night Stalker. I presume that's who he's going to be playing. I don't really see another way about it. You know, we'll have to see if it works out for game number 3. I sure as hell hope so. I mean, the Night Stalker was a lot of fun to watch, but we also got to see the weaknesses of the hero in game. Game 2? I don't know, it's disorienting. We'll just call it game 1. This is game number 2, I suppose.
Yeah, that's probably a lot easier, but there are kind of 2 ways to run the Night Stalker. Last game, they went for the all-in way. We win by 30 or we lose after that. You could use your Night Stalker just as a pace hero, just, you know, make sure that he's always a threat to Hellraisers, you're buying space, you're getting kills when you can, but since you're not going all in, you're probably not going to be getting as many. And then you're just trying to buy space for someone else. With the Death Prophet pickup, that seems like it's a possibility, as Death Prophet can also fight early on, but if they want to go for a little bit more late game, if Virtus.Pro Polar use this Night Stalker just as, you know, a diversion, if they just have him cause chaos in the early to buy space for a late game farmer, that is another way that you could go with the hero, because as far as buying space, we saw it last game, he's pretty damn good at it.
Yeah, the issue last game was that there just wasn't anybody to benefit from it. For now, Hellraisers is going to go for a Nature's Prophet. There's some sort of synergy with Sprout and a Mystic Flare, I suppose, but not really all that much. Right now, Hellraisers, their opener against the Night Stalker is a little bit weaker. I really like the Brewmaster Venge.
Yeah, that was just so much better versus the Night Stalker. Scarrath Mage is not able to do that much to the Night Stalker. He's a lot softer than the Venge, I believe, with 0 base armor. I think he is softer than the Venge, albeit barely. Nature's Prophet, also none too durable. So these heroes that Hellraisers have picked up, they are not going to be as defensible versus the Night Stalker early on, and we already saw what Night Stalker could do last game when the enemy team had quote-unquote good heroes against the Night Stalker. When you pick up bad heroes against the Night Stalker, well, we'll see what happens. But it seems like the second bans are going to be more or less the same as last game. I don't really know what direction Hellraisers are going to be going. Nature's Prophet is a hero that they probably could have picked up a little bit later and would have maybe, you know, held the pick until then, or maybe not picked him at all.
Maybe we're going to see Lycanthrope from Hellraisers at some point during their draft. Nature's Prophet, although you can pick him later, if you pick up the Lycanthrope early, is probably going to get banned, and Virtus.Pro might shy away from that. I'm not exactly sure. We'll have to see. At the very least, we do have the Shadow Demon and Phantom Assassin taken out of the pool. And yet again, we're going to see Hellraisers see through a lot of their reserve time. Very liberal about that very early on in the draft, which is interesting to see. A lot of teams save it mostly for that last picking stage. Drones are banned out, and then an instant dazzle for VP.P. I absolutely love this dazzle pick. Usually he's kind of a lukewarm hero, but we've going to get a lot of traction here with that minus armor for both the Night Stalker and the Death Prophet, as well as just the ability to dive headlong to the enemy team and still have that fallback of the Shallow Grave.
And with the Dazzle pickup, it does look like maybe Virtus.Pro Polar not going to go all in the aggression. It's pretty much just Night Stalker, who's a truly aggressive hero. Death Prophet can, participate in those, but she doesn't. She's perfectly okay with just chilling for the early stage of the game. So Virtus.Pro Polar, they're going to play this, I would expect, a lot slower than last game. And I mean, if you just lost last game with a Night Stalker pick, you really have to change gears. I guess they're just really stuck on the Night Stalker plan, so they're not going to switch gears by that much. It's an Abaddon now for Virtus.Pro Polar. So these are very do-nothing support heroes as far as in the lane, as far as being aggressive. They are enablers for other heroes, so they're putting a lot of their faith into the Death Prophet and Night Stalker with these supports.
They really are. This is probably the most defensive supporting duo you can go for. I'm not sure if there's one that's actually more defensive. Tree, yeah, I suppose replace the Dazzle for a tree, and then you have two melee supports that kind of serve the same function. But yeah, they're really making sure that this Night Stalker is able to get his job done. For now, Hellraisers are going to go for the Tidehunter. It's going to be interesting to see how they actually lane all of these heroes, potentially looking for a mid-Tidehunter up against the Night Stalker, if that's even the matchup, or maybe just off-lane Tide, safe-lane farming Nature's Prophet.
Yeah, the lanes for Hellraiser is going to be a little bit awkward. It seems like they're just gearing up for a turbo carry as their last. It's not going to be Anti-Mage. Virtus.Pro Polar are going to make sure of that, but if it's going to be a Medusa or a Spectre, really no matter who. Actually, I'm kind of feeling the Spectre right now with Nature's Prophet global synergy, right? So who knows what it's going to be Hellraiser, but it's a Slardar last pick for Virtus.Pro Polar. Okay, it's not exactly what I was describing before when you used the Night Stalker to buy space, but now they actually have a good amount of abuse for minus armor. It's not the worst pick, but their lanes are going to be real awkward.
I think that's kind of an understatement, but if they're able to squeak through, get even through the laning stage, the recent buff to amplify damage is actually super scary when you have an exorcism behind it. That 5-second cooldown, you're able to put the amplify damage on all 5 of the enemy heroes, if that's pretty much all you're doing. But still, you're able to maintain it on a lot more. For the last pick for Hellraisers, it's going to be a Faceless Void. A lot of teamfight presence coming out from them. After recent nerfs, I still think Faceless Void is a worthy pickup from them. I think a lot of this comes down to the laning stage. If Hellraisers are able to get an early advantage over Virtus.Pro Polar, they just might not be able to put everything together.
Yeah, I think for Hellraisers, their prime objective is just not die. Just don't do anything in the early game stages. 0-0 is like the ideal score for Hellraisers 15-20 minutes into the game. They just don't want to be under any sort of pressure from Virtus.Pro Polar. As far as late game though, Slardar, Death Prophet, Night Stalker is pretty darn good. With Faceless Void assumingly getting protected farm with the split push Nature's Prophet, Hellraisers, they just want to get a little bit of cash on the Tidehunter. They just want to get him to his Blink Dagger, and then maybe they'll start to make things happen. But oh man, this is going to be a difficult game. Personally, man, I'm rooting for Virtus.Pro Polar because I don't want it to be a 3-0, but I don't really know if this is a draft that's really capable of doing. We'll see. Of course, it's not every day that we get to see a Slardar and a Night Stalker, let alone on the same team. So for Virtus.Pro Polar, DK Phobos, he's going to be playing the Slardar down towards bottom. Lil is going to be playing the Dazzle. Got FNG supporting as the Abaddon, Mag and the Death Prophet, and Illidan once again on the Night Stalker.
And on the dire side, it's going to be Hellraisers. Looking to close out this series 3-0, I'm kind of hoping that they don't, just so we get to see more Dota. But it's going to be Gora that's playing on the Nature's Prophet towards the offlane, looking at his ward out pretty darn early. The other 4 heroes currently all smoked up. Aphonia on the Tidehunter, Artist on the Faceless Void, supports Dread and Goddamn on the Skywrath Mage and the Ogre respectively. Their level 1 fight is pretty scary if they're able to find a single hero, but actually killing them off is another story. Virtus.Pro Polar have a whole truckload of sustain, as well as some fairly tanky heroes at level 1. Death Prophet probably excluded. Well, actually, no, she's absolutely fine. The smoke is going to pop. It is going to be spotted out on the high ground. It looks like this is going to fail, although they get the concussive shot. Time walk forward, looking for Mag. They have no spells leveled up by Dread. He gets the Fire Blast first. They Shadow Wave up. They're going to Fire Blast up Mag. With the Aphotic Shield, it's going to delay a little bit of the damage. Mag still dropping low, but is it low enough? The body blocks are going to be enough to save Death Prophet. Now they turn for Phonia. Phonia dropping low after the Void. They just need a little bit more damage. Abaddon also dropping. They TP in, looking to delay Illidan. Body block him over on the side as Artemis Man fights up against DK Phobos. It's a cluster. Nobody's actually fallen yet. With the Aphotic Shield, another crush onto Dread. Dread's going to be our first blood, picked up by Lil, and now looking for more. They've tried to find Goddamn. They don't have any other ways to slow him down, and Goddamn probably going to be able to walk out of here, but they also lose their Tidehunter on this side. An absolute bloodbath in favor of VP.P, and now they're actually not done. Artis and Goritz are dropping low. That should be the end of it, but my goodness, what a exchange. You usually don't see that before the clock actually drops.
That was freaking awesome. There were so many melee heroes there. Like, what are you supposed to do there? Except for just A move and like right click and tell everyone else to right click the same person and hope for the best. Aside from that, there's not really that much you could do. And well, in that last fight, we really saw the sustain of VP Polar coming into play. They had the Dazzle with Shadow Wave. Not the longest cooldown, though not the shortest cooldown at level 1. Got some serious work done. Of course, the Aphotic Shield also doing its work at keeping Mag alive, because he's the one to get jumped from the get-go, yet it was Hellraisers to take 2 deaths. It is pretty much the exact same start from Virtus Pro Polar as in the last game as far as the kills going their way. I don't really think they could have expected it to go like that, but no matter how you slice it, Virtus Pro Polar going to come away with a little bit of lead after said first engagement, but I don't know. They had quite a lead last game, so it's by no means damning.
Right now, Phonia is going to be mid on that Tidehunter up against the Death Prophet. Not the greatest matchup for either side, but Death Prophet should have a completely acceptable match. Up in top, it is an off-lane Night Stalker as well as Abaddon. Probably aren't going to die, but definitely not going to be killing as much as we saw in that game, unless they completely isolate the Scarlet Mage in particular. Bottom lane also dual lane with Slaughter and Dazzle up against Nature's Prophet. This is going to be a little bit more passive, and I think it relies more on people overstepping their bounds, or maybe a lucky bash. Illidan looking for the Scarlet Mage, currently caught out inside the trees, is going to be healed up and is going to be completely fine. Not really much traded either way.
Alright, so Night Stalker is an extremely tanky hero from the get-go. He has a lot of armor, he has a lot of HP, but he cannot really afford to always run around like that. He just went literally past the creep wave, around, and in that loop pattern, and he took a lot of damage to get really nothing done in the process. So Night Stalker right now is going to be safe. Once Artis gets a couple more levels, once Goddamn maybe gets a couple more levels in Dread as well, then Night Stalker suddenly is not as capable of doing stuff like that. So he has to be a little bit careful, but he's still getting some experience, some gold. Definitely pales into comparison when you compare it to the last game. And even once minute 4 hits, Night Stalker, though he may be at a higher level than in the tri-lane in the last game, up against these 3 heroes, the chances of him actually getting kills is so slim.
For sure. Right now in this room, picked up by the Tidehunter, but with just the bottle, not much that Defoni can actually set up. He has a gush and maybe going to look for it since they're just diving so aggressively onto Goritz. He is going to drop behind the tower. Tide might be able to mop up a kill on the backlines, but just not going to happen. The Sprint and the Slider probably would have been able to run out there either way. So again, more wins for Virtus Pro Polar, as Defoni is also completely out of the mid lane, giving a lot of space to DP.
Alright, so DK Phobos as Slardar and Lil as Dazzle. They don't really have the most aggressive of lanes. Like, you wouldn't expect a Dazzle and a Slardar to be able to effectively kill off an enemy, but switching forward, Nature Prophet still without boots is at the mercy of the VP Polar side, and well, he just felt that damage a little bit too much, so he really has to be careful in that lane. Until he gets boots, he could play things a little bit more fast and loose, but even then, you're facing up against Split. So Goritz not off to the best start. 1 death to his name, and Virtus Pro Polar, this bottom lane, Slardar 2 assists right now. He's doing pretty well for himself. I don't know if you get a Blink Dagger this game. I think you do. Maybe not straight up rush a Blink Dagger, but you prioritize a Blink Dagger if you're DK Phobos. And right now he's not being stopped or really slowed at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be entirely opposed for him going for a Midas either, but PT's into Blink is probably the safer way to build it. We'll just have to see as this game progresses. Right now, there's not any clear signs of aggression from either side, but they're going to dive Goritz. My goodness, the heal bomb doing so much damage to TP is going to fail as he tries to make it back to base. Honestly, this Nature's Prophet shouldn't have come dead to this lane after dying that first time. Probably should have just gone off into the jungle.
Man, I should really just start staring at the Nature's Prophet or the bottom lane for Virtus Pro Polar. I mean, I was surprised they got the kill the first time. Now with boots on the Nature Prophet, really shouldn't be surprised about that, I suppose, but who knows. It's going to be an aggression up towards top where Illidan is going to get shielded for now. He's going to turn things around to goddamn. He will punch down the Scarith Mage, make it 5-0 in favor of Virtus.Pro Polar. Time walk forward, he gets sprouted up, but that might protect him a little bit more than it's going to hurt him. He will go down in the end regardless. FNG now is going to be in a little bit of trouble. Fire Blast plus Treant body blocking, going to make it 2-for-1 up on this top lane. Hellraisers, an aggressive play from Goretz for sure. And we just see how weak this dual lane is for the Virtus.Pro Polar side. Nightstalker, Abaddon. Double melee, can't really do that much. Got a kill, which is, you know, 1 kill more than I really thought they would get, but still, they're going to be at the mercy of this Hellraisers tri-lane.
For sure. Well, for now, we are just going to be falling back. Nature's Prophet into the jungle, and I don't expect anybody else to die, but my goodness, I've been wrong throughout this entire game. DK Phobos, looks like it's going to be a Vanguard rush for the Slardar.
That's also not a terrible way to go. If you're going to be using a Night Stalker in a draft ever, you're going to be diving towers, and well, Vanguard's really good at diving towers, so maybe Vanguard for, maybe not Vanguard for Illidan, maybe just one. I don't really know if you want to be spending 4,000 gold as a team just to get a couple of Vanguards up. It's a really, really steep investment, and if you don't actually get those kills, you're going to be really kicking yourself later on, so not really sure what build Night Stalker is going to be going if he's not going to be going for Vanguard. But he's going to go strong into Arties up towards top. Just a couple of Voids. And Void, as a skill, does quite a bit of damage. Like, it's more on the high end of skills, of nukes, rather.
Yeah. With 255 on an 8-second cooldown, as long as he has the mana sustain, it can be pretty impressive. He's going to get healed up a little bit by the Abaddon, but now Ignited Up Illidan might be in a little bit of trouble. Sprouted Up going to instantly eat through that. I believe with a Tango, yeah, it was just a Tango on the Night Stalker, and that's going to allow him to retreat. Nighttime Night Stalker is incredibly hard to lock down, just running too darn fast.
And he has a little bit more mana now, so he's going to continuously spam that one out. Unfortunately, this time he doesn't have an urn. Last game he did at this point. No other form of mana sustain except for a magic wand, yet he's still putting a lot of pressure onto this Faceless Void. Not really doing enough to stop him from farming, but Illidan actually has another one. He could think about diving this right now because he has Abaddon to back him up. Arties has got to be so careful right now. Has 5 stick charges, but they're going to dive this one. And oh my god, no, they don't even need to. Coil and Void. That burst damage.
It's not something you expect as a Faceless Void. 2 points up in the Mist Coil as well as just 3 points up in the Void. He was gone. The nuke damage there, it's definitely something that you can't underestimate. If he got a backtrack there, maybe he survives. He also had 7 magic stick charges, but it looks like the Void just underestimated the ability of that lane to completely obliterate him.
Yeah, so much burst damage coming out from that. Even though Mist Coil is kind of on the low end, Void is kind of on the high end, so I suppose it all balances out. We have Mag making his rotation up towards the top lane. He's only level 7. This is not really a rotation that you commonly see from Death Prophets. Usually it's at least maxed out Witchcraft when you actually want to go for this push, but it seems like they're going to use the Exorcism anyway. Okay, so a very early push from Virtus.Pro Polar. Honestly, I don't think it could really get that much done. Tidehunter's here, though just an illusion, so it's going to force Virtus.Pro Polar back. Fearing the Ravage, it's going to be false for now as FNG is actually down towards bottom. The Ravage is going to be canceled for now, but it is going to connect onto 2. FNG taking a lot of damage, will be brought down. Mag now is on the run from Hellraisers. He does have quite a bit of armor now, is getting woven up. Afbo is going to be chased down by Illidan with turning around with the Anchor Smash, is now completely out of mana. Dread wants to turn things around to Illidan, but with the Grave, they won't get the kill, at least not from right now. He's going to turn around and try to go for goddamn. In the meantime, Artie's going to try to zone out that Void. Mag going to chase forward. One more Crypt Storm will kill off this Tidehunter, and he will miss it, I think, but he lands it onto a couple anyway. Goretz is going to be brought down as well. Illidan and Lil still fighting hard. They're going to be joined by FNG now, going to go for the Faceless Void, and he will be able to time walk out. I think Virtus.Pro Polar, they actually take that fight even with the Ravage. They're going to go for more. Artie's gotta hide in the trees, gotta run away. He's going to get Miscoiled Voided. That's going to mean another kill for Virtus.Pro Polar. After all said and done, it's a 4-for-1.
My goodness, both of these teams just brawling, and in these extended engagements, the heal from the Dazzle as well as from the Abaddon really get a lot of usage and become amazing spells. Neither team really has that much damage to work with. Scarith Mage, he's maxing out the Silence, which is completely acceptable in a pretty standard build, but he just falls too quickly before he's able to get the Arcane Bolts, and they're not done yet. Time Walk available by the Faceless Void. They look for Illidan as he tries to finish off this tower. It's probably going to be denied. Time Walk forward for the slow, and the Chronosphere. Illidan is going to be dropped down incredibly fast and is going to lose his life. Sprout on the sidelines, looking for more as they catch up the Abaddon. A little bit body blocking coming up from the trees. Fire Blast and FNG's down. It's going to be Hellraisers striking back.
They get the tower denied. They get 2 kills for free as well. Chronosphere literally just came up as soon as RTs really needed it, and he used it as soon as he got it. So Hellraisers, they get a little bit of something at the very least after all is said and done. They're going to try to crack back into this tower. Only level 2 in Nature's Call, though. They don't really have any other pushing heroes besides the Nature's Prophet. However, just having 5 heroes here is pretty scary from Virtus Pro Polar. Don't really want to teleport into that 1-by-1. There is also no Ravage, so this push from Hellraisers, I don't really see it going anywhere. Because Death Prophet's now here, and she does have maxed out Crypt Swarm. It will be able to clear out these creeps, and yeah, everyone from Hellraisers is going to fall back. It's a nice exchange for them after all said and done, you know, after the loss, but really they don't have the proper heroes to do this.
Right now, one of the biggest issues for Virtus Pro Polar is that they're just not getting as much out of the map as Virtus Pro are. Or for Hellraisers, is that Virtus Pro are getting a lot out of the map, excuse me. Slaughter completely farming away down the bottom lane, does have that Vanguard as well as Power Treads complete. I'd like to see him join the fights a little bit more, but if you look at the actual net worth of all of these heroes, 10 minutes in, Dazzle has more net worth than the highest farmer of Hellraisers, which is the Tidehunter, and he's still miles away from his Blink Dagger.
Man, with a 404 score on the Dazzle, he's been putting in quite a lot of work. He has a lot of mana to sustain himself as well, going for both Soul Ring and Arcane Boots. And as long as he can keep DK Phobos or Illidan, ideally both, from not dying, then this Dazzle is going to be doing some nice work. In fact, his score is by far the most impressive on his team. Mag not doing too terribly either, and well, either way, it's 2 heroes without deaths with a lot of kills to their name. They're going to go for this bottom lane tier 1. This is not going to warrant an exorcism, but if Hellraisers really don't want to defend this, then maybe Virtus Pro Polar are going to feel like they can go for a little bit more.
Yeah, exorcism is up with the maxed out Witchcraft, so they can feasibly look for a push into this tier 2 tower. It's a little bit risky and they might decide against it, but there you go, Double Damage Rune popped as well as the Exorcism. At the very least, they're going to drop this tier 2 tower to half health, and right now Hellraiser's starting to position to defend. Night Stalker up towards top, popping his ultimate to try to run away from this. He gets bashed, and Illidan looks like he's going to be the cost for this fight, but oh, now sprouted up, Chronosphere down. Illidan dropping low. Is it low enough? The Mystic Flare, but now with Brave. Illidan potentially looking for a turn, gets a Void onto Artist and take the tier 2 tower down in bottom. Looking for the Chronosphere as Symphonia is going to get crushed up down in bottom lane with a couple of Crypt Storms. The Tidehunter is going to lose his life. Night Stalker now pursuing. Dread TP attempt is going to fail. Damage is just too immense. Over in the sidelines, Artist has a TP out, and they're all going to survive, but it's a 2-0 as well as a tier 2 tower going the way of Virtus Pro Polar, and well, I hate to call anything after game 1 especially, but right now it's just looking so good for them.
Dazzle coming in like a freaking superhero, and Illidan dropping so low, got sprouted and Chronosphered, so I think Artie was unable to actually hit during that. Either way, there was a Mystic Flare involved in there as well, but Dazzle and Abaddon, just so much survivability between those two, and when it's very clear who's getting all of that EHP, it's all going towards the Night Stalker, well then you just cast your spells and he's just not going to die. Especially with that Shallow Grave, he's definitely not going to die, but then suddenly he's back up to 400 HP and charging forward again, and Hellraisers, they just don't have the right damage output to deal with this right now. I mean, what damaging aspects do they have? I would say they would be in a much better condition if Scarth Mage had a maxed out Arcane Bolt, but really he's not amplifying that much, and VP Polar, they're going to destroy the mid tier 1 and keep on rolling forward. They don't have the most pushing power right now, but they have all the fighting power they could possibly want. Slaughter is even going to join this fight this time, so amplify damage on top of the Weave, which has already been doing some serious work, and Hellraisers, they don't have a Ravage. They cannot really make a convincing defense right now, although both sides kind of weaken the damage output right now towards their towers. It's a slow but safe push for Virtus Pro Polar because of Lil's mana sustain.
Yeah, there's not much else. Defensive weave onto all 5 of the heroes coming up from VP.P. And if Hellraisers could fight before, fighting now is almost an impossibility. They need their level 6 on the Ornament Jai, and after that they need multicast. Tier 2 tower in mid is going to be forfeit as the Faceless Void puts some pressure in bottom and Nature's Prophet some up top, but definitely not enough to warrant losing a tier 2 tower for pretty much free, and now needs to be careful.
So after that is going to be Eul Scepter for the Death Prophet, and they do have an Exorcism now up with amplified damage, and look at that, Roshan is alive. Although I don't think that's going to be the case for much longer, because amplified damage, first of all, is really good against Roshan. Exorcism is also really good against Roshan. Put those two together and you have a free Aegis for the team. FNG unfortunately is going to get his time, or he's going to have to borrow some time in order to survive there, but Roshan is going to be brought down in a hurry regardless, and that's a double life for DK Phobos. He's very close to his Blink Dagger if he does want to go for that, and I believe it should be the item pickup next. He's holding on to an appropriate amount of gold for that. But Exorcism down means that Hellraisers have a little bit more time to farm up. What are they actually farming up for, however? maybe a Blink Dagger on the Tidehunter is going to make a difference, but other than that, the heroes on their side are just so linear as far as their power levels, and they really need a power level spike right now.
They do. Artis has been very aggressively farming in the enemy woods. For now, it's gone unpunished, but if he at any time gets spotted out, could be in a whole heap of trouble. Mag with the Yule Scepter. Silence could buy enough time for somebody to TP in to offer some support. Right now, they're going to just fall back a little bit. We don't have Blink Daggers up for Virtus.Pro either yet, although I expect one to be picked up by the Slider as his next major item choice.
Oh, Illidan's gonna find an Ogre. This is a tough kill for sure, especially when Dread could just straight TP out of there. Void is... you really need to save it in those types of situations, but if at the same time, if you don't cast it, you're probably not gonna get the kill, so... nice way of getting out of there. Ogre Magi going to survive, but now that the Blink Dagger is up on the Slardar, I think next time he's probably not going to survive, just because Illidan will have backup.
Yeah, definitely. Right now we're just waiting for Virtus.Pro to look for that first pick off with DK Phobos and his Blink Dagger. Looks like he's going to show that off to a creep wave, and Night Stalker incredibly aggressive behind the enemy tier 2 tower. Isn't going to find anybody, and it looks like they might just find another tower completely forfeited towards the enemy side. Right now, Hellraisers are entirely reliant on all of their ultimate cooldowns in order to take fights between the Ravage and the Chronosphere, and they just want to buy time to look for that perfect opening. And right now, they're few and far between, if they're actually there at all.
It's going to be top lane default, probably without usage of Exorcism. First of all, because it's not up. Second of all, because they don't really need to. So taking out this tier 2 tower is going to prompt no response from Hellraisers for now. They need to defend in their tier 3s. I don't think they have much of a choice right now, so they're going to concede this, and then by next time, or after this, they'll have a level 2 Exorcism ready to go for the top lane. And Hellraisers, if they don't take a convincing fight right now, they will just outright lose. Mag and the rest of the team going to get woven up, and now they're going to open up into the tier 3. There is no fortification here. Tidehunter does not have a Blink Dagger. It's so close, but so far at the same time, 500 gold away. They're tanking the tower, and they're more than happy to do so because of the sustain that Lil is offering to the team, not to mention FNG's sustain as well. Tower's going to be going down, and maybe VP Polar fall back after this, since their damage output towards structures is kind of limited after usage of Exorcism, and it looks like they will do just that. RT's going to charge forward with a nice 4-man Chronosphere, but where's the damage output? Lil is going to hit solo with the Mystic Flare. However, he will survive to grave himself. Illidan dropping pretty low, but he gets Mystic Coil up as well. Aphonia is going to throw out a Ravage, which will also connect onto 4, but there's just no follow-up right now. There's no damage. And now Virtus.Pro, they're going to turn things around. Who do they want to go for? It looks like it might be the Tidehunter. He gets slowed down by the Void. Now the Darkness being dropped by Illidan is going to instead decide to go for the towers, and the Rax is already in the meantime getting soloed by DK Phobos. Blink Crush into a couple right clicks, going to do the work there. They're going to focus down the ranged Raxes, something that they didn't do last game. I think they have learned from their mistake. They will take down, at the very least, this building, and they'll probably go for melee as much as they can, with Hellraisers packing no ultimates, and even with the ultimates as perfect as can be, it's just not enough. Virtus.Pro are going to take the Raxing pre-20 minutes.
Yeah, this is what they wanted to do last game, and they just weren't able to accomplish it. The Death Prophet really proving to be an incredibly useful tool at their disposal, and right now, everything's going right for them. And there's not a clear way that they can come back in this game, Hellraisers. As we already saw, 4-man Chronosphere, 4-man Tidehunter Ravage, you're not supposed to lose that fight. You're not even supposed to break evenly in that fight, and they lost it convincingly, and lost their structures after the fact. There's just nothing in the tank for them. They need 20 minutes or so, it feels, maybe even longer.
They need, yeah, 20 minutes where Virtus.Pro are also going to be farming. They need like 20 minutes of just their side farming, and then they'll be good, or maybe 10 minutes of that, but obviously that is just not going to happen because Virtus.Pro off of one set of Raxing means that the second one and the third one going to be that much easier. Mag is also much tankier with the Reaver, but he also has his Exorcism cooling down in just another 15 seconds. I don't think mid lane is really where they want to go, but really they know that the Ravage is going to be down for a little while longer. They can go for a high ground push if they really want to. They're not in a position to. Maybe they're going to wait for the next nighttime phase, but pretty much no matter what Virtus.Pro are going to want to do, they will be able to come away, at the very least, even.
It's a Necro book for Dazzle, and he already has level 2 of it. This is incredible farm for Lil. In fact, he's out farming everybody inside of Hellraisers, and has been for the majority of this game. 5-0 and 5. Dazzle really feels like he's the secret carry of this game.
And this is not really something you could expect from a Dazzle. He's super defensive, but all those early game brawls, getting the heal bombs with Shadow Waves, especially onto the Nature's Prophet twice in the early game stages, he's getting a lot more acceleration than Dazzles usually do. Usually they're gonna dive in, use Shallow Grave, maybe save the carry at the cost of his own life, but no, he just saves the carries and then turns around and kicks everyone's ass. So that's a pretty nice way to play the Dazzle for sure, and it's working out pretty well for the Virtus Pro Polar side. Level 2 Necrobook going to make it that much easier to push up the high ground. BKB also being farmed up by DK Phobos, an item which will do the exact same. Aghanim Scepter is available for Illidan. I think he will purchase that one, and he will. So in just another 2-ish minutes, the power surge of VP Polar is going to be huge. Whereas for Hellraisers, they have a Blink Dagger and Tidehunter. So maybe next time you get a nice 4-man Ravage again, but that is the least of Hellraiser's problems right now. They need more damage.
Yeah, right now, if Void had a Maelstrom, maybe, just maybe, but he needs a lot more on top of that as well. They have the Bloodlust. No, they don't even have the Bloodlust to amplify his damage, so scratch that. I'm not sure where the damage is going to come out. The levels on their supports are really lackluster, and they have a Necrobook on the Nature's Prophet, which is nice, I suppose, for split pushing, but it's not really going to do much inside the team fights. Virtus Pro Polar will be able to deal with it incredibly fast.
And with the Aghanim Scepter, they're going to see a Faceless Void. Void is going to not be in time from Illidan, so Faceless Void, very luckily, gets out of there with his life, but even though that may be the case, Faceless Void gets to survive. They have Ravage and Chronosphere. Hellraisers, they're as ready as they could possibly be in order to make this defense, but I don't know if that's going to be enough because this push is going to be intense, and hell, even if VP Polar get caught in a 5-man Chronosphere, maybe they lose one hero, but if Lil is able to survive, then the turnaround potential is huge.
Definitely, right now, Virtus Pro Polar looking for another set of barracks, and based off of what happened before, it's pretty much just going to be this. They'll drop the weave on themselves and put some pressure onto the tier 3 tower. For now, they haven't used Exorcism, and that's fine, but now it's go time. Onto the high ground, they'll drop themselves the Glyph to delay, but really it feels like that's all that they can do. The Void onto the Ogre Magi, as well as the Amplified damage, keeping tabs on everybody. And now they find a Scarlet Mage over the sidelines. Goddamn, is so screwed. Not anything he can do. 30 seconds, and he doesn't have buyback. He's completely out of this fight, and if it wasn't bad enough, it's now 4v5.
Tidehunter's wrapping around so as to get to the element of surprise, but I don't think that's going to be enough because Arch is now also going to get jumped with a Crush, amplified damage, beaten down before anything else. Here comes the Tidehunter Ravage, going to be thrown, which will connect onto literally everybody, but there's once again zero follow-up, and he's going to get turned around in a hurry. Amplified damage and the beatdown. Good game is called. Man, okay, this is the type of draft that Virtus Pro Polar, this is the type of game that they wanted last game. But the difference, I think, is just that Death Prophet. They had so much gas in every single fight. The sustain from their supports was huge. And Hellraisers, they choose such a damage-light combination of heroes that they end up dropping game number 2. And that means that, luckily for us, we're not going to have a 3-0, because that's not what anyone wants. We're moving to a game 3.